There's a very important cliche in American culture that applies directly to Donald J. Trump, and that is, if you lay down with dogs, don't be surprised if you wake up with fleas. The problem with Donald Trump, amongst hundreds of others, is that we used to have presidents who cared about whether or not they had fleas. But Donald Trump, when it comes to lining his own pockets and aggrandizing himself and his family, he doesn't care. And yet so many Americans simply continue to help him do it. And this breaking story, when you start aligning with countries that break every single thing we seem to care about in this country in terms of human rights, you don't just have fleas, you are flea-ridden. And while Donald distracts with plain deals about Qatar and all of these other things, he is doing nothing but laying down with fleas. Because this breaking story just goes to show how much he does not care. I'm going to show you that to you in a few seconds. Take a quick look at this to be reminded who Qatar is.
Qatar will soon welcome the world. The biggest stage in men's soccer coming to a conservative Muslim nation for the first time, with a catch.
All we ask, like any country, is that people respect the cultural norms of Qatar.
The Canadian government is formally warning soccer fans traveling to the World Cup. Qatari law criminalizes sexual acts and relationships between persons of the same sex or unmarried people, adding the country provides no legal guarantee of freedom of the press or freedom of expression. Journalists face severe restrictions on what they're allowed to record. Resource-rich Qatar, already heavily criticized for its treatment of the migrant workers who built the massive World Cup infrastructure.
Yeah, the World Cup and human rights, but it doesn't stop there because it goes directly to Israel and protecting Hamas. This.
Qatar says it is suspending its mediation efforts to reach a ceasefire deal between Israel and the militant group Hamas. The Gulf Emirate has been a key player during the months of protracted diplomacy aimed at ending the Gaza war. But Qatar says negotiations have stalled and it won't return to the table unless both sides show they are serious about reaching a deal. The talks, also mediated by Egypt and the US, have repeatedly hit snags since a one-week truce last year.
And yet, because Trump loves money so much, and the Middle East has more oil than we do, despite what he likes to claim and say, they have a bunch of money and he likes having it given to them. So this is how our president just absolutely strokes the crap out of people who are leaders in the Middle East. Try to hold your stomach when you see this breaking story.
I just want to thank you for everything, and maybe in particular our friendship. It's been a very loyal, great, beautiful friendship. We came from Saudi Arabia, where we have another great man over there that's a friend of yours. And you two guys get along so well and like each other. You sort of remind me a little bit of each other, if you want to know the truth. They're both tall, handsome guys that happen to be very smart. He's also a very special guy, and it's good to see all the relationships forming in the Middle East, because the Middle East is really being talked about all over the world, and we're having a lot to do with it. We're helping a lot, but they're doing a tremendous job.
You know the old phrase, if you spot it, you got it. Well, Donald Trump talks about other men, especially those who have a lot of money and or dictator-oriented leaders, such as Erdogan or Orban or certainly Mr. Putin. He talks about them kind of in almost a beyond bromance kind of way, sitting there in the Middle East and discussing how handsome he and the Saudi Crown Prince MBS are. This isn't just odd behavior. This isn't just weird. This, again, is something you would expect to be said in private quarters, perhaps at a party amongst friends, not international leaders, when you have a country with the history that Qatar has, both versus Israel and also versus human rights. But that is who our 47th president is. Skip all of the other rhetoric, skip all of the other things that get thrown around that keep the media busy. At his core, all Donald Trump will ever do, as you saw in his first term, when people weren't just blind loyalists, he fired them. Well, the other side of that is when it comes to other strong leaders. So long as Donald Trump is getting some financial benefit out of any scenario, he will pet and stroke and sit beside and applaud anyone, anywhere in the world, regardless of who they are, what they stand for, or what their ideological principles are when it comes to people and humanity. Don't forget that. And in the meantime, stay frosty.